Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha, welcome to Culturize. It is me, Makani. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the space that we create to talk culture, whether it's native, whether it's ethnic, whether it's social. It just gives us a place to learn these things. And if you ever want to reconnect to your culture, or maybe you're already used to it, to your culture, share with us. That's what it's all about. We are moving into, I got to thank all of our sponsors, Island Craft Fairs, and all these wonderful people that I'm going to be telling you about that have donated ho'okubu, or gifts, to our guests. So all this, I hope you like sweets. It's all going to, she's like, oh yeah. And now before we introduce my guest, we like to thank you guys. Do all the things that you need to do to validate our existence on all the socials. But I'm privileged, I'm humbled to be sitting with somebody. And I got to preempt it with this. We communicate a lot, and this is the first time we're sitting down face to face, right? And not because just Zoom, but we finally did. And we do the same thing, and that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about culture, but using culture in things that we do. Ladies and gentlemen, Lilinoe, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
First of all, mahalo for making time.
Mahalo for inviting me.
Oh, you know that it's because we've been communicating so much, and the things that we do, which we'll eventually get into, all the local things. Were you in high school? Where are you from?
Yeah, so actually I was born on Oahu here in Honolulu, but I lived kind of half and half between the continent and Hawaii. Nice. So I grew up partially in Hilo on Hawaii Island in Pi'ihonua. And then the rest of the year I was in either Arizona or California because I live with my mom, and she was doing her graduate studies on the continent for a while, and then she became a professor at a school in California. So kind of moved around a lot, to be honest, but always returned home to Hilo in the summers and wintertime every year for most of my life.
Isn't that the beauty of it, is that we can always return home?
Yeah.
So high school, did you go high school here or just school wherever you were at the time?
High school in California. Nice. In this little town called Turlock. It's in
really?
the Central Valley. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I used to live and work in Fresno for a while, and I had to drive through. I actually have I've got two classmates that live in Turlock. They're truck drivers.
Oh, wow. And
I remember when they first moved there, I'm like, you guys are moving where? They're like, no, you'll see us on the way when you go to this and that. That's great. Turlock. When did you move, or when was your first trip to California or to the continent when you moved? How old were you?
1.5.
Oh, okay. So yeah. it was years and going back and forth.
Yeah. I flew when I was too young to fly by myself. I had a family member that would fly over with me, and then later I flew as an unaccompanied minor. Nice. And then when I was old enough to just fly, I just flew.
What was it like? I always say the more places you live, the more worldly we are. Culturally, what were things that you learned along the way of living in different places, whether it's your own cultures as a Native Hawaiian or any other cultures, things that you learned while growing up that you even think about or even involved in your life today?
Yeah, that's a great question because I have a lot of cultures, as most of us do. I have a lot of cultures within me. And then within my mom's family, so it was my mom, my stepdad, and then my little brother, but none of them are Hawaiian. So in that tiny little town of Turlock, I was the only Hawaiian in that town, only Hawaiian in my school, only Hawaiian in my family. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a lot of cultural connections to my Hawaiian identity there. But I am also ethnically Jewish and Chinese and German. And my mom was the Jewish one in my family, so she was able to bring that part of our culture in throughout my life growing up. I went to Hebrew school when I was younger, and then when I was older, we would observe the cultural aspects of it, not the religious aspects, but definitely cultural.
I like that you say that, because a lot of people don't there's religion, but religion also can be a culture. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that after this. But if you're joining us, this is Culturize. We're talking about culture, sitting down with my good friend Lilinoe, who's we're gonna get into what her and I have in common. But I'm now interested because I love the fact that you're multicultural, multi-ethnic. You have all these things going on. So sit down and join us, because we're talking and learning about culture on Culturized.
Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser Digital Full Access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code AHAITHING. For all your money needs, Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is here for you. Visit HIFICU.com.
Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome back to Culturized. Sitting with my good friend Lilinoe. Say your last name for us.
Kauahikaua.
Okay, got that, you guys? We always sometimes we like to put things across the screen and teach some words, right? For our good friends. Hoff. Kurt likes to do Duolingo. Everybody in this studio audience of 1,000, we're always learning things, right, you guys? So we're sharing. We're sitting down with Lilinoe, traveling the world. I'm intrigued that so we're talking about culture and religion, even your Jewish side. What are some things you remember culturally, traditions of besides the religious side that you guys did in the Jewish household?
We observed like Rosh Hashanah, which is the New Year. Which actually just passed not too long ago.
When is that?
I want to say March, late March. I mean, not March, sorry.
So
it just passed.
I know, because I'm thinking, because we're all used to, I was going to say the American New Year. What New Year with so it's kind of like Native Hawaiian culture that the year is totally different than what
because it's a lunar solar calendar. So actually Rosh Hashanah and that New Year time coincided very closely with the equinox.
The Pico Walk. Oh, no way.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of really interesting similarities between Judaic culture and Hawaiian culture, because very symbolic, lots of layers of meaning. It's very deep. So it's interesting.
Is cool. Other things, were there things, I don't even want to say idiosyncrasies, but there were things like how you treat people, how you talk to people. Was there certain ways within the Jewish household and culture like that as well?
Probably, but I would say that I don't really have a ton of experience with that, mainly because we were also the only Jews in the town also. So
you were winning in all categories.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was, it was a very conservative, very conservative. We'll stick with that.
I know, right? It was just rough. Right. Favorite place to live when you were on the continent? I mean, even if you can say a favorite place. Yeah. Because California, Arizona.
Yeah.
Did you just stay in Turlock in California?
Yeah, those are the two. I was in Arizona till about 5th grade, and then California from 6th through 12th.
No way.
Yeah.
You came back to Hawaii when?
I came back to Hawaii about 12 years ago. 2011 is when I came back.
You went back to Hawaii Island or? Hawaii
Island, yeah.
Here's another question. We talk about this. If you're joining us, a lot of times we hear, we hear Hawaii Island, we hear Big Island. What do you prefer?
I like Hawaii Island. Yeah, Hawaii Island or Mokuokeawe.
See, we always have this conversation, and we always say, even within the Hawaiian culture, you got to be aware of who you're talking to, right? You go to Molokai, you're like, oh, well, aloha Molokai.
Yeah.
What? Like some of my friends that live on Mokuokeawe, they say that. Some of my friends that live Hawaii Island say that. Or then, of course, my hunter friends is like FBI.
Yeah.
So you went straight back there, and then here's a question I ask all my guests is, of course, growing up, we know we're Hawaiian at some point. What did you pili to within the mea Hawaii, within Hawaiian culture? What was the first thing you pili to? Was it hula? Was it mele? Was it, kai? What was it for you?
So I will say that I did not come right back to Hawaii. So after graduating high school, I got stuck on the continent for a while.
I know. We've all had that, I think, one time or another, right? Especially the Central Valley of California. Yes. We always get stuck.
Yes, very stuck for quite a long time. But by the time it was time for me to return home to Hawaii, there was kind of this kahea at this time. And I needed to make some changes in my life, basically.
I like that. I like the fact that you said there's a kahea. So those of you that watch, so we always, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes a kahea is not just, it means call, but there's this thing that you have to do, right? And it's not, it could be spiritual, could be emotional. It could be an elder telling us, this is your kahea, and you actually listen to that. And so you came home. So what we're doing right now, this is Culture. We're talking story about a kahea that I love the fact that because not a lot of us pay attention to that, right? We hear ho'ailona, which are signs that we see, and omens, if you want to call it that. But when the kahea comes in, you better be ready to answer. But after this, we're going to get into what you do today. And was it because of that kahea? Oh, stay right here. It's Culturized. Air and Sea Travel Center, best group tours throughout the world. Let's go travel and see the world to make beautiful memories. Call 808-951-9800 today. Long's Drugs is always here for Hawaii, providing your family with their local favorites and accessible health and wellness services to keep you safe and healthy. Make Long's a part of your day. Windows Hawaii. Trust Windows Hawaii. Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha, welcome back to Culturized. Sitting with my good friend Lilinoe. Growing up on the continent, originally Hawaii Island, Moko Keawe, you came back home and you answered this. And whether you're Hawaiian or not, we all know there's a time in our lives where this kahea, this call happens. I mean, it took me a long time to realize, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. And that's kind of the reason of this show. It's like you have people out there that are searching for culture, whether they're reconnecting, searching, or starting from square one. So when you came back, and now you're with Papa Ola Lōkahi today,
Mm-hmm.
was that part of the call? You're gonna go with it? Because I know you finished school.
Yeah.
What did you do? Where'd you go to school?
I went back to UH Hilo.
Oh, there you go. What'd you study at? Because you went to grad school?
I had to do my bachelor's.
Nice.
Kind of redo my bachelor's because I had dropped out before.
Who hasn't? It took me 7 years, girl. What brought you to Papa Ola Lōkahi?
Yeah, again, probably along the lines of the kahea. I mean, the kahea that I got to return home was really, it was at a time in my life where there was two very clear roads that I needed to choose between. And I ended up choosing, listening to the kahea and coming home, going back to school, studying. During school, I got really interested in law. Ooh. Because of my own personal experience of being, justice involved and other experiences in my life. I became really interested in law, and I wanted to go to law school. But I didn't. So, yeah, it took me a little while. I ended up finishing my bachelor's in administration of justice. Then I tried to get into law school. That pathway didn't seem to work out. Ended up going back to school to do a certificate at the community college in Hilo with in this program called Hawaii Lifestyles. Oh. And so that's under Tangaro, if you know Tangaro, right? So he helped to create that program. And it's like you can get your AA in hula, basically. And so that program changed my life completely and helped me to realize that it gave me a really great way to look at my own journey through addiction and through, the other challenges that I faced throughout my life through the lens of mo'olelo. To really start to dig into the why and where is it leading to? What am I being led to?
A cultural kahea, that's what it was. So this is where we both come in common, and we're gonna get right into this. You mentioned addiction, and that's where you and I work with. We work in addiction. However, my question is what I wanted to bring you on is addiction has been around for ages, right? Now, they've been studying Native Hawaiians for a long time. And yes, we do have a pilikia. We do have our numbers within addictions, and whether it's by choice, whether it's pharmaceutical, all these things. Anyway, we'll start it with this. Do you think culture can help us in the field of addiction? Oh,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is why I'm sitting here today. I mean, if I didn't listen to that kahea, go home to my wahipana, which was Hilo up in Pi'ihonua, return to that wahipana and connect to it and learn its lessons, then I would not be alive today. Like, culture is what saved my life, hands down.
Say that again. Culture is what?
Saved my life. saved it.
And it's amazing and that's how you and I connected. So I'm over in Waianae, and we've got programs, specifically culturally based programs in addiction. And in your work experience as well, because I run into it even now daily. I've been doing it for, I don't know, for a long time. It amazes me that people still think they hear culture and addiction. They go, how? What? Really? Because I don't know. Do you run into that?
Yeah, all the time. And it always takes me back up. Like, I just stop because I'm like, you know what? Sit with that for a moment.
Okay, that's good. You needed that, because sometimes I'm like, no, let me explain to you. Let me explain. I need to just stop and be like, okay. If you're sitting with us, this is Culturized. We're talking about culture and addiction right now. Lilinoe, who is with Papa Ola Lōkahi. It's the Native Hawaiian healthcare system. We're in common. I'm at Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center, and we both have this kuleana that we have to carry out, and it works. And we're going to share with you some of the things that why it works and some of the things we do right here on Culturized. At Aloha Kia, you know a guy. Visit them at any of their 7 dealerships statewide. Purchase a brand new Kia using Aloha Kia Express. Learn more at alohakia.com. Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha, it is B. McCuddy. Welcome back to Culturized. So excited and humbled and privileged that Lilinoe, you're spending time with me, because I do got to say sometimes. So we're talking about culture and addiction, and because we can agree that culture, not only an addiction, but I truly believe that culture is an answer for a lot of our most perplexed problems within ourselves. If we just ho'ikapiko, just return to your culture. She returned to her vahipana. She had the calling, and now we're in a place, you and I, where we're helping people with addiction. And a lot of people. So if you're watching, sometimes people think addiction. The first thing you're going to think is drugs, which, yes, it's true, but addiction is a disease that it's anything. You can have addictive tendencies, you can be addicted to anything, but for you and I specifically, what are some of the things that within culture, vahipana was one, right? Explain to those that are watching that don't really know what vahipana is and why it was important to you and just in general.
Yeah, so vahipana, is my understanding of vahipana is like a sacred space, or that space you're pili or connected to. And so pi'ihonua was always that space for me, which I didn't realize until much later in life. It was right behind, it's where my dad lives, but it was more than just where he lives. When I was younger and going through the issues that I was having within myself, I would always leave and go up to Pe'epe'e Falls, and I would spend time by the Wailuku, watching the water, you know. I would spend a lot of time by myself because of all the internal eha that was going on. And so, later in life, when I realized there was mo'olelo of that area, like the mo'olelo of Kana, let's say, so, and his own journey to find himself and to connect to his own ancestral knowledge. There was a lot of things that I found out about that area that I realized were very, very parallel to my own journey. And so, that's my vahipana.
Isn't it cool and crazy at the same time, where places that are familiar to us, as simple as returning to a place that's as familiar to you, is healing. It's changing, you know, things huli when you're there. So vahipana, very, very important. What are the things now that you and I are working with people with addiction? I'm a huge person of vahipana, because I tell my clients all the time, I said, in order to know where you're going, you have to know where you come from, right? Other things that helped you, not helped you, that you use to help others in their addiction, culturally based.
That's a great question. The other thing I would say is hula. Like, hula has been a very healing and connective space for me, both in Hilo, in the Hawaii Lifestyles program.
And you were in there.
Yeah, I was in there. And
if you're dancing hula, you're there. You've made it.
Yeah. And my kumu was his hawana, kumu pele, while I was in school. And then even afterwards, when I came to Oahu, I was, I didn't have a halau in Oahu. But my kumu, a friend of mine who I had met in Hilo through I used to take olalo as well. So she actually was opening a halau, and she was going to be teaching virtually. So from Hilo, but virtually. So she allowed me to come into her halau and take it on Zoom so I could still remain connected to Hilo. And so that learning through hula, it brought out this connection to like physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. Like it is the whole package, you know what I mean? You get to connect to your ancestral knowledge, to learn about the lessons your ancestors are passing down, and then how to apply those lessons to your own life, to understand where you've been and see where you're going.
I love it, because I'm going to go out on a limb, but there's people from the outside of the hula world, they don't realize, and sometimes people in the hula world, they don't realize what you just said. Hula is not just to tell our story, not just to tell our genealogy, but it's also used as a healing aspect. We're going to get more into how culture and addiction we're biased, is the key. It's just, I'm telling you, we're going to continue more on that. I first got to say mahalo for making time to be here, and then I got to apologize to her because I never make meetings. We're on this board.
You'll come. I know you'll come.
We're on this board of culture and addiction, and we're here to help. And I'm just like, but mahalo for making time. I got some amazing gifts for you. Got to thank Island Craft Fairs, and I'll let you know all our good friends who have given us gifts and whole kupu for you. If you're watching on network TV, do me a favor. We're gonna keep her here because we're gonna talk more about culture and addiction on the extended version. Go to YouTube right now, hit up all our socials, and do all the things that validate Culturized. Thanks for joining us. Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome to Culturized. This is our extended version because I'm going to keep Lilinoe here. We want to talk about when it comes to culture. Culturized is a space that we create to learn and talk and share culture, whether it's social, whether it's ethnic, not necessarily Native Hawaiian, anything and everything, whatever cultures there are. But we're sitting here today because we are two people that really kako culture and using culture in the field of addiction. Whatever it may be, and we left off with hula. As hula people, we know that we go to halau and we learn our oli and we learn our choreography. When did you realize that hula was much more than what we grew up knowing? Like we're talking about healing, right? I want you to repeat to those that are now joining us again what hula has done for people with addiction.
Well, there's a lot of questions in one
I know,
question.
sorry. Right? Why is hula good for us?
What are all the things? Well, I have to actually mahalo my kumu pele, who I studied with first, because right out of the gate, really, in that papa at Hawaii Community College, we learned how deep hula was. He really allowed us to. Every hula that we learned, we would study and makavalu all of the olalo. So, digging deep into the layers of meaning of each of the lines and internalizing that. And then we would write a paper taking that story that we pulled from what our understanding of the hula was and use it and examine our own either life journey or academic journey. Every single hula that we learned.
Wow.
And so honestly, it blew my mind.
It's blowing my mind right now because I never thought of that. Wow. It's funny because I'm thinking of these hulas I know and how, wow. And so the deeper you went, did you find the more similarities? Like, whoa, this is about me.
Yeah. I mean, with Pele's journey, Hi'iaka's journey, just so many parallels.
It's crazy because again, it's this reconnection theme that we've been having this season of our guest, and it's reconnect. We know hula, But now we see it from a different standpoint. And it's funny, too, because I got to say, when I first started doing hula with our clients over at Waianae, I had a lot of people, crinkling their brow and like, you're going to do what? Teach them. And I'll be honest. I'll be one of the hulas that I taught that I had to, because most of my clients, they weren't ma'atu. They were not hula people. So I literally, and you're probably going to laugh, but we did Keo Nani, right? Just because of the fact that, yes, as a keiki, we learned that song, but when you're using, a lot of times people don't see the world as you would see Keo Nani. So I like that you said that hula, now you look at it in a whole different way. Along with hula, we know that oli goes hand in hand. Is oli also a good way for addiction?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I often utilize oli, especially today, in our world today that are even a lot online. We can even look to oli online because it's a way to kind of connect no matter where you are in space. You're sharing space and you're sharing that like reverberation, right, within yourself, within your soul, and connecting to even the energy that's moving around you through oli. And we use oli a lot. We actually, with Papa Ola Lōkahi, and we're the Native Hawaiian Health Board, right, not the system. So we actually oversee the 5 systems. But we were really fortunate to have, do you know Kawila Kiali'i Kanakaole?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were really fortunate to have him on one of our webinars right when I was starting out. And he talked about his Tiny Ku'ahu series that was super popular and really looked at cleansing space, right? And keeping a ku'ahu, or that sacred space that you're going to create for yourself. And then what does that mean? Like, so he talked about in our session how to create that sacred space for yourself using oli that both his mom, Kekuhi, and he haku'd for this specific purpose, and to cleanse your space, to wake you up, not only like wake you up in the morning, but like wake you up internally, like just ho'amana, that internal flame. Open that up and then, be ready for what is about to come to you in the day.
Intense. And see, those are the things that we can apply to our clients that we work with. So when it comes, again, it's when it comes to, and if you know anybody, let me ask you this. Do you think, there's sometimes people that have addiction, a lot of times the ohana kind of just puts them on the side. They forget about them. How important is it for ohana to be involved with someone that is addicted?
Oh, like super important.
Because it's funny. We both know that, but I talk to a lot of my clients and they're just like, their family relationships are just totally disconnected.
Yeah.
I've tried to think of ways. What are there ways that we can? How would you, like, I always think we got to do workshops on families and how to do that. What are ways you think in your mana'o that we can bring families back together and focus on that person that's hurting?
Yes, I come up against that question quite a lot about like, how do we involve the family? And, a lot of the Western based kind of ways that are looked to for treatment, as you know, are very individualistic. They focus just on the person, but that person is going to go back to their family or the community or wherever they're going, and that community hasn't had time to heal. So if we don't figure out a way to bring the community or the ohana, all of that environment that person is going back to together, then we will not heal. They will only, be back in the same position because they're going to be, up against the same things that got them into that position in the first place.
It's like they're good when they're with us, and then they have to go to their. See, I'm always constantly thinking that because they always tell me it's like, oh, I feel lonely and I'm shunned, I'm this and that. Here's another question, because you brought that up, and I think it may be a battle that you and I we think about Western methods, and we got traditional cultural practices and methods that we use as well. I truly believe that we can work parallel. We have to, right? We have to be comprehensive in how we help our lahui. You think the same way? Same one?
Oh yeah,
that?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes it's hard because we have kupuna that are like, no. You just do what we do. Yes.
Yes.
No, we're going to do what we do. I think that's why it's great that we're that generation that I think we can put it together. Vahipana, a concept. Somebody asked me one time, maybe you can help me answer this. Somebody goes, oh, so just because you use Hawaiian words for things, that makes it cultural.
No.
You know what I mean? See, I know, and
No.
and sometimes I'm like, well, no, it's Vahipana is a practice. Like we do creative writing, we do haku mo'olelo, right? And I have to tell my clients, I said, you have to write your story. You have to write your story. And I've had some people go, oh, but you're just telling them it's just creative writing. I'm like, some of the most profound things were written.
Right. I mean, and there's a time and a place for some of the Western approaches, right? But at the center of who we are as Kanaka, that is a holistic understanding of the self in relation to one another and the world around us. It's not an individual thing. It's a kako thing. It's always going to be a kako thing. So if we center ourselves on that, in we ho'i ka piko, as you said, recentering ourselves in who we are and how we understand our relation to one another and the world around us, then we can anchor ourselves in that kahua, which keeps us strong and keeps us healthy and keeps us together. And then we can utilize some of the Western aspects, right, to complement what we're doing from our own kahua, right? I
like to compliment because here's another theme that I always run into. It's like, hey, can we integrate Hawaiian practice? Like, no, you cannot integrate something that was already here. Mm-hmm. Let's do this first and then integrate. I love this conversation. I love this topic. And it's a love-hate relationship with addiction, because it's like, I love what I do, and I know you do too. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to have to love something that's a problem. You know what I mean? So it's difficult. So if you're joining us, Lilinoe, mahalo for making time and sharing your mana'o and ike and such it's a difficult topic. We have to be able to create a space to talk about it. What can we do to help those that are in addiction? How can they get into, if somebody is a family member, if you need some help, Papa Ola Lōkahi, can they get in touch with you guys? How's that happen?
Yeah, we our own organization doesn't do direct services.
Because you direct them to
the Native Hawaiian healthcare systems, which do have, several of them do have behavioral health and addiction services. Not all of them though, you know.
Or you can just, like we've been talking about this whole time, find a way to reconnect to your culture. Because I also say, you know, if a program isn't your thing, maybe you can return to culture on your own, right? And do that. So mahalo for sharing. I definitely want to bring you back more, because this is a topic that's going to be continuing, and you and I are moving forward with culture, utilizing culture in addiction. That's what we do right here on Culture.